Talk about a fun case. That's what we're doing today. Girls Gone Wild, but with some consequences. And you're going to hear the story in just a minute. Every trial lawyer has that one case, the one that pushed them to the edge, changed how they practice, or kept them up at night. This is Trial War Stories, and I'm your host, Andy Goldwasser. I sit down with great trial lawyers to unpack unforgettable cases, the strategy, the chaos, the pressure, and the moments that turn the tide beyond the transcripts and verdicts. And now, to the show. My guest today is the one and only Andy Kabat. Andy, first of all, I've known you for a long time, but you are a phenomenal trial lawyer, really just the top tier lawyer. And I was talking to you the other day and I asked you about some of your interesting trials because, as you know, I love talking about this stuff. And you started sharing with me this case that is wild in the wildest sense. And we're going to get into that case in just a moment. But it's really interesting to me when we started talking about the case, and I had to look up a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. This is a case that was a story that really became national news, so much so that it hit Good Morning America. It was on Oprah. It was on Inside Edition. And I actually looked this up. It was one of the most popular searches on the web for that particular year. This was big news. Tell us about the case.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. I think she was the single largest downloaded person for a period of time because of this. I was asked to represent a news anchor, local news anchor from Youngstown, Ohio, who had been diagnosed with a disease that could have been terminal. And she beat it. And she and her husband said, you know what, we need to go celebrate. So they went to Key West, Florida, and were out one evening and had a great dinner and had some drinks. We're not wasted, but had some drinks, and inhibitions kind of fell apart, and they walked by a wet t-shirt contest.
Okay.
And my client happens to be a very competitive person. So she entered the wet t-shirt contest on a lark and said, you know what, this will be fun. And then her competitive nature took hold, and before you know it, she was completely naked on stage. Not a stitch of clothing left.
And this is a news anchor from Youngstown.
Right. Who thought, by the way, I'm anonymous here. It's spring break, Key West. I'm with a bunch of 18, 20-year-old women.
Right. Why not? Let's have some fun.
Right. She did the contest, left with her husband, had some regrets, I think, at the end because she thought, well, what did I just do?
Right. Like we all do when we sometimes go a little bit too far.
For sure. But had fun doing it and felt liberated and felt, you know what? I'm alive and I love it.
Love it.
Went back home to Youngstown, Ohio, right around Christmas time. So several months had passed. And she gets a call from somebody anonymously saying, I know what you did, bitch.
Whoa.
Hung up.
Okay.
And she's like, I don't know what's going on. Well, come to find out, there was a gentleman in the audience taking still photographs who had posted the photographs on his website.
Oh, boy.
In addition, there was, and I call them Girls Gone Wild, but I don't know the actual name of the company, but there was a video company there in the audience who found out that she was a news anchor, and they published a video that said naked news anchor on it with her picture.
Because Girls Gone Wild at the time was huge.
Yes.
So it was something like that, or was it actually Girls Gone Wild or some affiliation, or you're not really sure?
I'm not really sure because I wasn't involved at that time.
Okay.
They had another lawyer. But it was one of those companies that had broad distribution, by the way.
All right.
I mean, this video hit everywhere.
And just started getting downloaded all over the place.
Correct. And so what she did, she hired a local lawyer in Youngstown who ended up, she said, look, I don't want to exploit the pictures. I want the copyright so that nobody is able to exploit them.
Makes perfect sense. I want to own this picture. I don't want anyone exploiting me. This was just a whim, fun night where I probably went too far.
Correct. So that lawyer negotiates with both the video company as well as the photographer and gets the copyrights. They get the copyrights. They own the copyright.
All right. So your client now owns the copyright. She owns this video or photograph that is it already circulating on the web?
It is definitely circulating on the web.
Okay.
She, as you said, was, as soon as it came out, she got fired from her job.
They fired her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They fired her. Although I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it absolutely was out in the public domain.
Okay.
And then what happened, and the reason tying into this call, is that there began to circulate a video that showed pornography spliced in, and then my client's likeness, her naked body.
Okay.
Giving the impression that it wasn't just a t-shirt contest, but it was actually pornography that she was involved in. She then, as this video comes out, gets fired. And that's when she comes to my doorstep. And basically what she wanted me to look at was, well, who is creating these tapes? You know, who is splicing this together?
Right.
And we found out that it was a competing news station in Youngstown, Ohio.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How did you have investigators? How did you find that out?
So it was really interesting. We ended up interviewing some people who said that they thought it was, but they didn't want to touch it because Youngstown, even at that time, was a place where I don't think you kind of rat on people.
Right.
And there were some sheriffs that were involved in disseminating the tape. So everything was kind of hush-hush. And I remember meeting with a news anchor in the competing station. And I took her to the office that we had in Youngstown at the time and got her to admit that, in fact, it was the competing station.
Wow.
So we filed a lawsuit. But the challenge was we weren't looking for money from exploiting it. We wanted to keep it quiet, conceal it.
It's almost a catch-22, right? I mean, if you file a lawsuit, you're almost exploiting it more.
100%. 100%. It's like a defamation case, right?
Right. Once you put it out there, you're putting it out there even more.
Yes.
So what happened?
We didn't really have a theory for damages. And, you know, as much as I love the case and love them, we had to get a theory. So we principally sued based upon the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Whatever that is.
Filed a bunch of other claims, but that was our money claim. And what that in essence was is that if you remember back in the day when you got a videotape and there was a copyright notice that ran first.
Right.
This copyrighted subject can't copy it, can't disseminate it.
Yep. And there's all these provisions with fees and all sorts of stuff.
Well, so if you remove that, it's a violation of the act.
Okay.
And if you violate the act, every time you've removed it, you get damages, including punitive damages and attorney fees.
Okay.
So now I just had to get somebody to admit that they removed the warning sign.
Okay.
So we had like 7 depositions.
Well, I have to ask you, so who are you suing at this point?
So we sued the television station. We sued a couple people associated
You mean
with—
the television station that you believe leaked the tape?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The competing station, a couple people affiliated with the sheriff's department. We sued a motorcycle retail shop.
Okay.
They were also disseminating the tapes.
Anybody you could find that was disseminating this tape, you sued them and said, stop it.
Well, I didn't say stop it. I wanted to figure out how many times they disseminated the tape so that we could generate some damages.
Okay.
And we took a lot of depositions, and the case was defended by Baker Hostetler.
Okay.
And they were super aggressive. And the man who was defending it was just nasty to me. I mean, we got into screaming, knockdown fights over everything. And about the 8th deposition, I was deposing the engineer from the competing station.
Okay.
Who I thought spliced up the tapes. And before I got to even ask him some questions about the case, I wanted to figure out if he was involved in it. And if he was, whether that digital copyright notice was on it, and he removed it.
Okay.
So I got him to admit with some help with a tape statement that I had from this news anchor that he, in fact, was the one who spliced the tapes and how sorry he was. And he did it as a joke and he didn't think it was going to be that bad. Then I asked him, and this is maybe 20 minutes into the deposition. There's 10 lawyers sitting around the table. I asked him, I said, isn't it true that there was this digital millennium notice on it? And he said, yes. And I said, you removed it, didn't you? He said, yes. I said, okay, thank you.
Wow.
And I literally just got up.
That's great. You got what you needed. You got out. You didn't let anybody rehabilitate.
I had 10 pages of questions to ask him. My clients were sitting next to me. They didn't know what happened.
Of course, you couldn't get out of the room quick enough.
I had to come back in and say, come on, we're leaving.
Right. The other lawyers were probably screaming, hey, I have questions. I have questions.
I said, we're done.
Okay.
And we ended up settling that case. I thought it was over.
Okay.
I thought we were done. And then she came back to me maybe a year or two later and said, I'm trying to get past this, get beyond this in my life. But they published one of my pictures. And I said, well, who is they? And she said, Hustler magazine.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Hustler magazine had a contest in their magazine to nominate the hottest news babe.
Only Hustler.
Yes. The month prior was none other than Lauren Sanchez, who now is married to Jeff Bezos. And somebody nominated Catherine, and they published a picture of her that was copyrighted with one of her breasts showing.
Okay.
And they put some words about, hot news babe, eye candy or something like that. And she wanted to sue based upon her copyright. So we took the case.
It seems to me that it's pretty clear copyright infringement, right? I mean, she owns the copyright. They published it without her consent or permission. You have an infringement. There might be an exception to that infringement, but there was an infringement.
100%.
So you file a copyright infringement case against what would be the Hustler entity. It probably has some different name, but essentially Hustler.
LFP Productions, Larry Flint Productions.
I love that. So, okay. And because it's a copyright infringement, is that in federal court?
Federal court in front of Judge Oliver.
Great judge in Cleveland.
Awesome. Yes.
Tell us what happens.
So they, despite being a California entity with offices in California and all their production in California, they were represented by this law firm in Buffalo, New York.
Why in Buffalo, New York?
To this day, I don't understand the real connection.
Not that there, and I said that probably wrong. There's great lawyers in Buffalo. I don't mean to despair. It's just you would expect, especially Hustler, who I'm sure gets sued a lot. You would think they'd be at the California or New York lawyers representing them.
That's what I expected. I expected some large entertainment law firm that was going to come and just try and squash us,
right.
Because
exactly.
At the time I had left my big law firm and it was like 4 or 5 of us in a small law firm. And I'm like, oh, great. We got somebody from Buffalo, so maybe it'll be great. Well, they were worse than Baker.
Oh, my goodness.
I got threatened sanctions, fees. They actually said, if you win $1, we don't care. We're going to appeal it till we can't appeal it anymore. And just we're nasty kind of people.
Just scorched earth litigation.
Yeah. Great lawyers, but just nasty kind of people.
Yeah.
But we did pursue the copyright infringement case. And again, she didn't want, most of those cases are about you've exploited, and because you exploited it and I didn't get the opportunity to exploit it, I've lost money.
Right.
She didn't want the opportunity to exploit it. She wanted to put it away under the bed and never touch it again.
So how do you quantify damages in a case like that?
It was difficult. First of all, the reason why I took the case is because this woman and her husband are literally two of the best people I've ever met in my life.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because I read the Court of Appeals decision.
Yeah.
One of the issues they had was some of your comments that were made in closing argument, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
Yep.
But I want to ask you some questions about that, and I'm going to put a pin in it for right now.
Put a pin in it. But that's why I took the case, because I wouldn't have if I felt this woman was some money-grubbing, awful person, or quite frankly, just promiscuous and just decides she's going to take her clothes off and it doesn't matter to her. It mattered to her. It mattered to her core.
Well, her professional career was completely derailed because of, let's be honest, a harmless error in judgment. And it's not like she did anything illegal. She didn't do anything improper. It's just morally, in the position that she had, it just didn't fit with what she did. And so it was a mistake. But as a result of that little mistake, her entire career is now derailed.
100%.
And I'm sure her relationships were affected. I mean, it's a horrible thing.
And it went against the core of who she is. I mean, it just did. Right. It was just a frolic.
Right.
And everything about her was just the 180-degree opposite.
I mean, thank God we didn't have cameras when we were growing up. I mean, who knows where we'd be sitting right now. So,
not me, you.
Right,
yeah.
Okay. Well, Andy, I interrupt you. So tell us what happened.
So, and that, my point being is after I got to know these lawyers, I knew they were going to make the common mistake. I knew they were going to try and victimize this poor lady.
They were going to polarize the case.
100%. So that's why I thought, you know what? I'm going to have difficulty proving damages, because the way it worked is all I had to do is prove copyright infringement and how many magazines they sold. And then the burden shifted to them to say, yeah, we may have sold $1 million worth of magazines, but it's not all attributable to your picture.
Okay.
Which in this case, I knew was pretty easy because I had done my research. I knew that she wasn't on the cover. There was no indication that she was in the magazine. And these magazines happen to be shrink wrapped. Okay. So if you pick up a magazine, you can't tell if she's in it or not. So I knew damages were going to be a really big issue. And in fact, I tried to get an expert, but because she was on record 16 different ways saying, I didn't want to exploit this, that was a big issue in my case.
Right. I mean, normally I would think that you would look and see if there was a spike in sales. Was that part of the analysis you went through, or that wasn't, you didn't go there?
We were not able to find a spike in sales.
Okay.
We were not. And then even if I could, I didn't know how to attribute it to her little picture, right? Was it her picture, or was it the woman who was on the cover half naked?
Absolutely. I mean, that creates a real challenge on so many levels.
Yeah. But they over-lawyered it, which gets us to the trial part, which is how I think we were able to succeed.
I want to talk about the trial.
Yeah. Yeah. So the trial was great. It was scorched earth discovery, motions that you couldn't believe, pre-trial motions. I mean, we were doing motions in limine for weeks. And we finally got to the trial. And I walk in, well, to back up, I wanted to take Larry Flint's deposition.
Okay.
Because he was very involved in the magazine at the time.
Well, he was the publisher, was he not?
He was the publisher, and despite them trying to run from it, he was involved in day-to-day decisions about what went on and what went in the magazine.
Okay. I saw from the Court of Appeals opinion someone named David Flynn. Was that Larry's son? Or relative, or not related at all?
Yeah, it wasn't David Flint. It was David, was not David Flint.
Okay.
His daughter was the trial rep. Larry Flint's daughter was
That's
the thrower.
right. His daughter, who really had no connection
Zero.
to any of this.
Zero.
She was a plant sitting there, and I read the opinion. They wanted a female sitting at the trial table. They didn't want Larry Flint, a porn publisher.
Right. Right. And so we had made arrangements to go out to Los Angeles where their headquarters were.
Okay.
I was with Brad Barman.
Okay.
He was an excellent lawyer.
Great lawyer. I have a case with him now. He's terrific.
Excellent lawyer. Was such a great help to me. Tried it with me. I mean, it was phenomenal. But he and I got on an airplane and went to this building on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills. And we walk into the first floor and it says Larry Flint Productions, Hustler Magazine, and that's it. It looks like any other office building you're in.
Okay.
Nondescript, just sterile as can be. And they say, okay, the depositions are going to be on the third floor. Well, the third floor was where Larry Flint's office was.
Okay.
All right. And I knew they weren't producing them, but that wasn't enough for me because they told me he wasn't there, wasn't available, whatever. So we get off the elevator on the third floor, and there is this ornate gold everywhere, pornography littered all over the place.
I love this.
Conference room, waiting area, reception area. And I look over to my right and there's this huge office. And I said to the receptionist, I said, whose office is that? She said, it's Larry Flint's. So to have fun, I wanted to get a picture in Larry Flint's office.
Of course you did.
I mean, why not?
You traveled all that way. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
You knew he wasn't going to show up.
Right. I knew he wasn't there. So fine. So I'm in his office and I want Barman to take a picture of me. And all of a sudden we get 2 steps in the office and security comes to get out of here.
Where are the other lawyers? Are they even there?
They're in the conference room.
Oh, that's great.
So we take the deposition, we come back, we end up going to trial, and Larry Flint's not there. And
what was it like taking his deposition?
they never
produced him at all.
Never produced him. It was always some excuse. He wasn't well enough. He didn't travel. He didn't have time. He was too busy. Whatever.
So you travel all that way. You have a feeling they're not going to produce him, probably know that they're not going to produce him. You then get there, they don't produce him. Do you bring that to the attention of the judge?
Well, we depose. We didn't go out there to actually depose him. We knew we were not going to depose him that day. We went out to depose 3 other people in the magazine. Yeah.
Got it. All right.
But I wanted to see his office and I wanted to see if,
I love it.
I was just having fun at the time,
Why not?
Yeah.
You're battling like crazy. Have a little fun in what you do.
100%.
Okay.
That's how I felt. The other lawyers thought I was the biggest idiot on earth.
Of course.
And thought to themselves, this kid is never going to be able to try this case.
Right.
Right. I mean, it was 2006 or 7. So
and by the way, what do you know about copyright infringement? You're not a copyright infringement lawyer.
Well, there was that too.
You learned
it. It's easy. I mean, I learned it quick.
Right.
So we tried it, and in walks this woman who I had never seen before, and they introduce her to the jury as Larry Flint's daughter. And they also say, look, Larry wants to be here.
Oh.
But he can't be here.
Oh, this poor guy who's not feeling well, who's a loving father with his daughter, is going to appear as the corporate representative.
Yes.
You
exactly.
talk about over trying a case, right?
100%. And in addition to that, they had an expert. I didn't have an expert because I couldn't get one. I mean, the fact of the matter is I didn't know how I was going to prove my damages.
Okay.
But they hired an expert, paid her $100,000, and she was going to come in and testify that there's no damages. So I had no Larry Flint. I had a daughter who knew nothing about the case. I had these lawyers who were nasty and were going to victimize my lady. And I had them over lawyering with an expert. So I knew I at least had a shot with the expert to cross-examine her. I intentionally didn't make a big deal about her. Didn't take depositions, nothing. I was just like, I'm going to do it cold. So we started putting on our case. And as I thought, they victimized my client, which backfired.
I don't even understand that, right? Were they just saying, here she is, she's trying to exploit not only what happened, now she's trying to exploit the process, and really this is nothing but publicity and fame. Was that what they were trying to say?
Money grubbing. She loves it. She loves the attention. This is her business. She's a newscaster. This helped her life.
Lawyers, we talk about this on the podcast a lot. Lawyers lose. They screw that up because as soon as you don't argue the truth, it backfires.
Yes. But that was their perception of her.
They believed it.
100%.
Yeah, they don't know her. They never met her other than maybe her deposition.
But they didn't take the time at her deposition to get to know her. They crossed her.
Almost like she was in trial.
Exactly. They were just mean to her. They wanted her to say, you know what? This is what you're getting at deposition. You take it further in trial, it's going to be worse.
Wow.
So they never got to know her. And they would have seen that she's this wonderful, sweet woman who cares about people and really legitimately had remorse for what she did and just wanted to go on with her life.
Did you put her on the stand?
Yeah.
How'd she do?
Oh, she was amazing.
So you do a direct of her and they go after her on cross?
Money grubbing, awful person. You like it, helped your career.
Oh, that had to
What did your husband think when you did a wet t-shirt? How could you do that? Yeah, I mean, just
the jury must have been so turned off.
You could see them. You could see them bristling at the cross-examination. And right then I knew we had something.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot too in this podcast about how the feeling of a courtroom, right? You don't need to hear it. You see it and you feel it.
Oh God, I felt it. And I knew we were going to get something if I could prove damages.
Do you need to prove damages to get the case to the jury?
Well, so we did our first burden, which was number of copies sold, how much, and then they rebutted it. So then I needed to come back with something. I couldn't just rest on it.
Right.
So that's what I was worried about.
And so how did you handle that?
I cross-examined their expert.
So you got it out of their own expert.
I did.
That's great lawyering.
I did.
That is great lawyering.
And had they, by the way, the expert didn't provide any magic. She just came in and said, look, there's no way anybody would know that she's in the magazine because it's shrink wrapped. And I thought to myself, sitting at the trial table, why don't you have one of the goons who came in to testify otherwise just say it's shrink wrapped and you're good.
Right.
No, they needed the expert. They needed the $100,000 person.
That's the other mistake that lawyers make all the time. They get these paid experts and it creates an instant bad guy or a villain for us to attack at trial.
So we get to closing arguments and it's back and forth.
You're not getting there yet.
Okay.
I have a question for you about opening statement.
Okay.
All right. So this case actually got appealed. And as a result of that appeal, there's a written opinion. Yes, and I read the written opinion, and I have to ask you about some of the things in that opinion, because the defense, after you got a verdict against them, really didn't like that verdict. And they really were shooting at everything they could to get it reversed. And one of their many arguments was plaintiff's counsel, you went too far, and as a result, the verdict should be reversed, right?
Yeah.
One of their criticisms of you was your opening statement. And tell us about your opening, what you said, how you characterized the case, and what was their issue with it?
Well, so I think their biggest issue came not with my opening, but with my closing statement.
Okay. I thought there was something with your opening as well. I know in your closing, they had a lot of issues. You talked about money. That was a big issue for them.
Yeah. My opening statement, I think, was fairly benign because I knew I was trying the case to Judge Oliver, who's pretty conservative. I also didn't know that they would follow through with their threat to actually come after Catherine, which I found out after they stood up, opened their mouth, and called her a money-grubbing person.
But didn't they have a problem with your opening, Andy, when you talked about the stipulation that was in effect? So there was a stipulation where they actually stipulated to copyright infringement.
Yes.
But they said, wait a minute, there's an exception here.
Yes.
And that's the fair use doctrine.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Does that do you remember that? And
I do.
And so it's part of the fair use doctrine, is the way I understand it, is Hustler had its own lawyer evaluate before this was published,
right,
whether this photograph was protected or not.
Right.
That lawyer decided, well, it is copyrighted, but you could still use it under the fair use exception. And I don't fully understand the fair use exception, but in my small mind, the issue with that exception is that this wasn't for a story. This was to exploit a photograph. And you talked in your opening statement about this stipulation that there was this infringement, and I think they thought you went too far.
No question. You've refreshed my recollection. I, in my opening statement, said the parties have stipulated that there has been copyright infringement.
And there was.
100%. But they were worried because they had a defense to it. And you're right. They had, and we deposed them, they had somebody in their editorial department who was responsible for checking to see if the photograph was copyrighted. Right? He couldn't find out if it was. He then elevated that to his boss, who happened to be the publisher. The publisher was supposed to check. He never did. Instead, he sent the article, the proposed article, to their lawyer, a lawyer from this Buffalo firm who was on retainer.
Wait a minute, is this the same firm that's defending him at trial?
Same law firm.
Was he called as a witness at trial?
Yes.
So the lawyers who are defending the case are calling their own law partner as a witness in the case?
Correct, because that was their only defense to it. Their defense was Bill Feinbaum.
I mean, you talk about a credibility error.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we got into the money, because they were on retainer. It was $1.5 million retainer, if my memory serves.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to the closing, because the money talk. So here's what the court said in the opinion. Defense counsel said in his opening statement, "What this case is about, ladies and gentlemen, is money. Make no mistake about it." And I agree with him. This is you talking.
Yeah.
And I agree with him. It is about money, but not how you would think it's about money. Larry Flint's company is a tremendously huge, successful company. They sell Hustler magazine and countless other magazines and products. Revenue from just the magazine is $1 million. They've got videos, casinos, toys. What you did was, to me, that's awesome lawyering. You took their argument, this is about money, and you completely flipped it.
That's exactly what I was trying to do.
And then they had a problem with it.
Yeah, they did not like it. They did not like it.
And I love what the court did. The court said, well, too bad you opened up the door.
Yeah, sure. They stood up and said, this is about money. She's a money grubbing person.
One of my favorite stories about the case that I read about, and you got to explain it to us, is what happened. Like, what did you say about Larry Flint who wasn't there?
So as I said in the opening, they said Larry would love to be here, but he can't travel. And I was okay to let that one go. But then this guy gets up in closing argument and says it again. You know, Mr. Kabat made a big deal in his closing about Larry's daughter. Larry was shot. He's in a wheelchair. He doesn't get around very well anymore. Now, what he didn't know.
None of this is in evidence, right?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not, which is why I felt like I had free reign to do what I did.
Because he opened the door. You're like, if you're going to talk about things that are not in evidence, let's talk about things that are not in evidence.
Right. And what this asshole, excuse my language, didn't know is that 3 weeks before the trial, my dad, who loved to gamble, had a surprise. We had a surprise birthday party for him in a casino in Michigan.
Okay.
And I'm standing in the lobby, and there's a big to-do like over to my right. And I look, and I see a gold wheelchair. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I walk over there, and it's Larry Flint.
No way.
Yeah. And
3 weeks before trial.
Yes. And of course, I go, Larry, hey.
Of course.
I'm suing you. Are you going to be at trial?
And I want a picture in your office, by the way.
Yeah. And he just ignores me. So when this guy, again, this defense lawyer gets up and says again that Larry wanted to be there, I felt in my rebuttal that I had every right to say he had no problem traveling to the casino. He could have been here.
Good for you.
They took exception to
I can understand why they would.
Yeah.
And the Court of Appeals actually said, hey, it was improper, but it's not enough to actually reverse the jury verdict.
And I think what mitigated against that for me was that it was improper for them in the first instance to say the guy couldn't be here because there, as you said, there was no testimony that he couldn't travel.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to sort of end on this note because to me, when I did some research on this case, I found your client to be absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I'm not just saying, I mean, she is the hero of this story. I mean, what I read about her, she is now actually advocating against cyberbullying. She's using her own story to help people. I mean, what an incredible human being. And you knew that in your closing argument. And I have to read another part of the opinion because to me, this was so powerful. And I mean, I don't know if I was on the jury, it really would have affected me. And I think it probably affected the jury in the case. What you said is, I have a daughter who's the most important thing in my life. And I tell her, it's okay to make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Stand up for what you believe in and don't give up. That's what I tell her. Catherine Bosley, you made a mistake. Were you looking at your client when you said that?
I was, yeah.
You took your clothes off. Okay, you can't take that back. But if my daughter turns out like Catherine Bosley, if she is able to live up to that role model of not giving up and sticking up for what she believes in, I will be one proud father. That, my friend, is good stuff.
I meant it.
And well, that's what makes you a great lawyer. It's the authenticity that came out in you. I bet knowing you probably didn't even prepare that.
No,
it just came out.
I felt it. I felt it. And these people deserve it because they're my friends to this day. I might see them socially.
It's incredible. Yeah. What I didn't like is the Court of Appeals saying that the comment was improper. Now, they said it wasn't prejudicial,
right?
But they said it was improper.
Yeah.
Now, in trying cases over the last 30 years, I could tell you that I would have done, I don't know if I would have done the exact same thing, but I'd sure be proud if I did, because that's good lawyering. So
thank you.
Incredible stuff. And please extend our gratitude to your client, because again, she's the hero in this story and this saga. She fought the fight. She had a great warrior by her side. Congratulations on an incredible verdict, Andy.
I just want to tell you one thing, because I have tried a lot of cases, and I've been lucky to make a living as a trial lawyer, but it would not have been possible if it were not for your father. Well, I just want you to know that. He is my role model, along with my dad, but I went to practice at Reminger because of your dad. That was the only reason I went there.
Now, that's really kind of you to say. I had my dad on the podcast, and you know, I've spent my career trying to make him proud. So it's very comforting, and I'm really appreciative of you saying that. Thank you, Andy.
He's a stud.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.